much. A deft twist of his wrist sent the steel sliding into the frayed seam on the collar of her shirt, slicing it open all the way down her back. As the cloth parted, the whispers and murmurings from the onlookers ended abruptly, leaving only the soft sss of the blade to fill the silence. She drew a slow breath to calm the pounding in her breast. The blood was flowing, hot and fast, through her veins, flushing her skin a mottled pink, even though the air was chilled where it touched her exposed flesh. "Because I am in a generous mood, puta." His lips scraped across her ear. "I will give you one more chance to tell me what I want to know." She steeled herself to keep from flinching. "I cannot tell you what I do not know." The dark eyes narrowed and studied her intently as he came around in front of her again. There was a hint of appreciation for the defiance he saw in the taut lines of her body, but it was not enough to keep the tip of the knife from sliding down to the waist of her breeches. It slivered through the cloth with a quick flick, then tore downward, following the slender curve of her hip to her thigh, then down to her ankle, leaving the moleskin split wide open. She would have liked to kick out at her tormentor, to twist free of the ropes and run like the wind, but the bindings around her ankles had been looped around the rocks and pulled tight. Splayed and vulnerable, she could do little more than writhe and thrash her head, scattering her long blonde hair wildly over her shoulders and back. Muertrigo smiled, and with another downward slicing of the knife, cut through the other leg of her breeches until it, too, hung open over her pried-apart legs. He slid a hand between her thighs and stroked back and forth, watching the disgust, humiliation, and anger alter the expressions on her face as his fingers explored the sensitive flesh. "So, you refuse to make this easier on yourself?" She made a sound in her throat, then spat the words free. "I told you, I don't know anything." Muertrigo's eyes crinkled at the edges. "We all know something, my dear, and I can promise with some certainty that you will be begging to tell me everything you know before the sands fall through the hourglass." "Then do your worst, Capitan," she whispered, lowering her eyes and squeezing out a tear, "for you will never hear me beg." The Spaniard chuckled low in his throat and addressed his audience. "They all say that, in the beginning." He withdrew his hand and gazed at his fingers a moment, then lifted them to his nose and breathed deeply, inhaling the scent of her fear. 3 quick slashes saw the rest of her clothes lying in a heap at her feet, causing the watchers in the shadows to offer up a collective murmur of appreciation. Her body was slender and pale, her breasts small but firm, crowned with soft pink nipples that had shivered into exquisite little peaks. The thatch of hair at the juncture of her thighs was softly curled, yellow down. There was a small puckered scar over her ribs that had the look and shape of a bullet hole, but she was otherwise a flawless beauty. Muertrigo walked another full, slow circle around her, his eyes lingering here and there, gauging, calculating. The look caused an involuntary reaction in her flesh. The revulsion made her skin feel as if it was shrinking everywhere on her body. The knife came up again, and was used like a hand to caress her. It skimmed down the side of her neck and onto her chest, following the stretched curve of her breast to push aside the tangled waves of her hair. A speculative grunt saw the point rest against the raised peak of one puckered nipple, and, with a slight tilt of his head, he pressed the steel inward, dimpling the flesh until there was no more give.